I never believed in the supernatural. Ghost stories, possessions, curses, they were just fiction to me. That changed the night my dog turned into something else. Something unnatural. It started small, almost unnoticeable. A shift in his behavior, a darkness in his eyes that wasn't there before. I should have seen the signs earlier, but by the time I realized what was happening, it was already too late. It was a stormy night, and the wind was howling through the trees. The lights in the house flickered, making the shadows dance along the walls. My dog, Shadow, lay at my feet, his breathing slow and steady, but something about him felt off. He had been acting strange all week, staring at empty corners, growling at nothing, refusing to eat his food. I chalked it up to illness, but deep down, I knew something else was wrong. Then I heard it, a whisper. It came from nowhere and everywhere at once. I froze, holding my breath, straining my ears. Shadow lifted his head, his eyes locked onto something unseen. His body stiffened, his ears perked. Then, without warning, he let out a deep, guttural growl, a sound I had never heard before. The air turned ice cold, and my breath came out in visible puffs. The lights dimmed again, and for a split second I swore I saw his shadow stretch unnaturally along the wall. Then his lips curled back, revealing teeth sharper than I remembered. He wasn't my dog anymore. A voice came from his mouth, but it wasn't his. It was layered, distorted, too deep, too inhuman. It spoke words I couldn't understand, words that sent shivers down my spine. My instinct screamed at me to run, but I was frozen in place. The door slammed shut on its own. The walls seemed to move, twisting, breathing. The room darkened, except for his glowing red eyes. I reached for the light switch, but my hand passed through something cold, something unseen. My heart pounded as Shadow slowly rose to his feet, his body contorted in ways that defied logic. I had to get out. I grabbed my keys, but as soon as I stepped toward the door, Shadow lunged. His movements were unnatural, almost as if something else was controlling him. I stumbled back, knocking over a chair. I barely made it to the car, slamming the door just as he crashed against it, snarling, his eyes burning into mine. I drove, hands shaking, rain pounding against the windshield. I had no idea where I was going, only that I had to get him away from me. Then I remembered the cabin, the place where I found him. The old woman's warning echoed in my mind. Return what does not belong. I reached the woods, my headlights barely cutting through the darkness. Shadow sat in the back seat, eerily still, watching me in the mirror. As I pulled up to the abandoned cabin, a horrible screech filled the air. I dragged him toward the stone circle, feeling an unseen force fight back, resisting. My voice trembled as I spoke the words I barely remembered, words the old woman had muttered that day. Then silence. Shadow collapsed. His fur was damp, lifeless. I knelt beside him, whispering apologies, my hands shaking. Just as relief washed over me, his eyes snapped open. Everything went black.